Morning Internet, and welcome to another thrilling video by the International Bigshot. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now would be a perfect time to do it before you see the kind of videos I make. And by the end of the video, you may forget to unsubscribe, but if you do it now, everything's good, at least for me. This is my annual Halloween video, and I want to talk about things that are scary. Last year, if you watched the video, I was talking about my top 5 or top 10 scariest movies. I forget exactly how many it was. I think it was 5, but you can watch that video by clicking the link up there. This year, instead of going over the top 5 movies, I thought I would talk a little bit about some other things that I think are typical Halloween type entertainment. But first, I want to talk about The Haunting. That's still my #1 Halloween video. And if you haven't seen The Haunting, it's a black and white movie from 1963. You really should take a look at it. The movie The Haunting is based on a novel called The Haunting of Hill House, written by Shirley Jackson sometime in the 1950s. But the movie itself was made in 1963. It's black and white. It stars Julie Harris. And it is the scariest movie I've ever seen because it meets all the criteria that I have for what counts as horror. And that is a supernatural element, a spooky old house, and a mystery. If you have any of those 3 things missing, then you don't really have a horror film. And like I said in my video last year, if it gets into the slasher, blood all over the place type thing, that's not really horror. That's something else. I still haven't come up with a good classification for it. But anyway, I read the book, I've watched the movie, I've listened to the audio book, and I have to say that the movie from 1963 is the best of the 3. Other people have said that The Haunting of Hill House, the novel, is the scariest horror story ever written. I don't agree. I read it. I did not find it scary. I found it wordy and very difficult to really get a good handle on what was going on. I recommend The Haunting, 1963, black and white. You won't regret it. This year, though, I want to get away from video. The other things I want to recommend are books. I've taken The Haunting of Hill House off the list. It's not on the list for great scary books. But on the list of good scary books are some things by Daphne du Maurier. Now, I just recently became aware of some of the things that she wrote. I would listen to some audiobooks of hers. Rebecca is one, and I really like the way she writes. So I started looking into other books that she may have written and started reading those, and I really like them. In fact, as I mentioned in the video I made last year, she wrote one of the books that was the basis for Don't Look Now, the #5 video on my list of 5 scariest movies. She wrote that short story. She's a good writer. I like the way she uses language. It's really fun reading her stories. Like Don't Look Now, it helped that I had seen the movie. Just like with The Haunting, it helped when I read the book. It certainly helped that I had seen the movie. Otherwise, I don't think I would have finished the book. The other thing besides Daphne du Maurier is Walter de la Mare. He has a short story called All Hallows. All Hallows in this story is the name of a cathedral. And I think it's based on the Tewkesbury Abbey, somewhere in Britain. I'm not exactly sure where it is. Maybe in Tewkesbury. You can look that up. It is probably one of the most atmospheric scary stories that you're ever going to find, or listen to, I guess I should say, because I listened to both of these as an audio book. It's not really a book, it's a very short story. It's about 30 minutes long. But there's two versions. One is linked below in the notes. It's the YouTube version. Very good to listen to. And the other one is an old-time radio show made by a group that called themselves Black Mass. Now, I haven't really been able to find that anywhere. I don't know exactly if it's still available. But if you go to a podcast called Relic Radio, you can probably find it on iTunes or whatever Apple is calling their podcast thing now, or wherever you get podcasts. It's probably on there too. Look for All Hallows. The one I think that comes out in the old-time radio version is the best, but the one on YouTube is also good. So check it out. It's a scary story. The thing that makes it interesting to listen to, especially around Halloween, is the atmospherics that the people put into it when they read the story. There's music. There's the narrator actually voices some of the other characters, and it's very well done. Walter de la Mare, All Hallows. As far as I know, de la Mare also wrote some other horror stories. I'm not really familiar with them yet, but I might have an update at this time next year. Another thing I did this past year is that I read the novel that was the basis for one of my other top 5 best horror movies, and that was Turn of the Screw by Henry James. Now, it's not really a novel, it's more of a short story. But the movie starring Deborah Kerr, The Innocents, I think made in the early 60s, was based on that novel. Henry James wrote in the 1800s, so his language is a little bit challenging to get through if you're not used to reading that kind of stuff. The movie is better. And if you haven't read the book or seen the movie, I recommend the movie. It's a very interesting story. It's about a governess who comes to an old mansion in somewhere in Britain, I think, and is haunted by 2 spirits of people that lived there in the past, in the recent past, her recent past. And the whole story, it's sort of like The Haunting in that you're not really sure if the supernatural events are actually occurring or if they're a result of the main character going insane. In the case of The Innocents, I think going insane is probably what's going on, although Henry James never actually said one way or the other. In The Haunting, it's sort of up in the air. The main character's name is Eleanor, and you're not really sure whether the supernatural events that occur in The Haunting actually happened, or whether it's because Eleanor is going crazy. Either way, both of those movies are fun to watch around Halloween. I don't really know why it is we get so excited about scary movies in a Halloween. I mean, let's face it, we can watch a scary movie or read a scary story anytime during the year. There's nothing stopping us from that. But I think some of it has to do with the atmospherics involved. You can sort of tell that it's a little bit cooler today. This is mid-October. Leaves haven't really started changing yet. But I think we associate all of that stuff not just with fall, but with Halloween. Or maybe we just associate Halloween with fall. I'm not really sure which way you want to look at that. But this is the time of year where I start to think about all of these things, and when I'm fishing for ideas for videos, this is how I come up with them. Anyhow, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, please do it now. I'll see you next time.